Hello, fire starters. I'm back. Coach Shy here with your word of the week. This week's word is kind of a compound word. This week's word is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is defined as the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own effort or skill. Again, the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So the first thing I see here is belief, right? Belief, our beliefs, they're the foundation for everything. So what do you believe? What do you believe about yourself? Do you believe that you are deserving? Do you believe that you're worthy? Do you believe that you are competent? Do you believe that you're called to do whatever the thing is that you are doing? What do you believe? But then what's interesting in here is that it talks about one's success. So someone that's suffering from imposter syndrome has experienced, at least to some degree, some measure of success. So it's not that you don't have the capacity to get there, it's that we have a hard time staying there. We have a hard time believing that we deserve to be there. And so that's when things get all haywire. The crazy thing about it is that when I'm coaching people, I usually find they're in two different places when it comes to insecurity or overcoming hurdles and fear and those voices that's been, those tapes that play inside of our head. The first is getting started. Where I see imposter syndrome show up, though, is not usually at the beginning in terms of getting started. It's when you have had some success and now you're terrified that you've got to sustain it or that you've got to repeat it or that people are going to start looking at you and paying attention to you. And sooner or later, they're going to find out that you're not really the real deal. They're going to find out that you're a fraud or that you're really incompetent or you just got lucky or any number of reasons why you shouldn't be there and why you shouldn't be the person who is experiencing the level of success that you are experiencing. You know, we're always talking about they. Well, you know what they say. And lots of times we are the they, like we are our own worst critic. And we are the ones who can psych ourselves into believing that we don't deserve to be there. And very often what we end up doing is we will begin to sabotage that success and start to do careless things or reckless things or negligent things that ultimately take us back down to where we feel comfortable and our ego's not going completely haywire. That's imposter syndrome. It's a very real thing. I think we all experience it on some level at some point in our lives or in our careers. From time to time, I believe we all experience what I call God glimpses. And God glimpses are, you know, we all have things that we want to do or things that we were born to do. And I believe God shows us these things, these possibilities in glimpses. It might just be the flash of an idea or a vision or, you know, just a spark, something that gets you excited and starts you to think about possibilities. And usually they're bigger than us. Usually they're big, scary things like how in the world am I going to do this? And for that reason, we are often quick to talk ourselves out of those things. Or we may step out with that initial excitement and that initial rush that we got when the idea came to us. And then we find ourselves out there like, okay, whoa, let's slow the boat down. And so I call those God glimpses. And I think we see them all the time if we're paying attention. There's a verse in James chapter 1, verses 23 through 24 that says, "For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. He looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he looks like." So this is like looking at yourself in the mirror and you see yourself. You see yourself the way God made you. You see yourself the way that God created you. You see yourself in your full splendor and glory. And just for a minute, you believe everything he said about you. And then the moment passes and you walk away and you forget everything that you saw. You forget everything that you felt. and all those old fears start to creep in, and all those old voices start to creep in, and those people who doubted you, or sometimes the voices in our head are not even our own. Sometimes it's the voice of a parent or a teacher or a spouse or a sibling, saying, who do you think you are? Who are you to go do this or to go do that? Or we don't want other people to feel uncomfortable with our success. So we tend to downplay it so that others won't feel uncomfortable around us. So God shows us these glimpses, and then we walk away and we forget what we look like. Well, how do you think God feels about that? If God has given you this vision, if he has given you success, he does not expect you to downplay it. If anything, he expects you to stand in the full light of it and give him the glory. So in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 8, God is speaking to Jeremiah and he's calling him to go and speak, give these commands to the people. And Jeremiah's like, I can't go, I'm too young. And God's like, don't say that. Don't say I'm too young. Think about your words. Your words have such power. He says, don't be afraid of the people, for I will be with you and I will protect you. I, the Lord, have spoken. Another translation says, don't be afraid of their faces. And so I would say to you today, I would ask you, who is your they? Who are the faces that you shrink from? Who are the faces and the voices that you hear in your head when you are doubting yourself, when you are walking away and forgetting what you look like, when you know that you were born and meant to do this or that or this or that. And so often you have to keep coming back and resetting what God said. You have to keep resetting what you heard. You have to keep resetting what you believe. Who's your they? Sometimes your they is you. And the way that you adjust that they is that you adjust those beliefs and you go back to asking God, who do you say I am? There is a webinar that we did last fall called I Said What I Said, and it tells the whole story of Moses, or a huge portion of the story of Moses, and the struggle that he had with believing that he was worthy and that he was enough. And I would love for you to go and watch that webinar. It's absolutely free to go and download it. I will include a link here so that you can do that. But I have to ask you again, who do you think you are? God has not changed his mind about you. So go and stand in that mirror again. Stand tall, stand proud, and remember what you look like. That is our word of the week. I am Coach Shy. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you next time.